one very important story point for me, which is maybe a bit more story point in the reaction of the fandom than actually a writing critique. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter who were saying, oh, we're finally seeing the redemption of Boba the Ray, and those are possibly people who really like the way Michael Eklund plays Boba the Ray and so on. But I would be very careful with calling for the redemption of Boba the Ray. Just have a very, very short list for you from season 1, where you might be able to remember all the things Boba the Ray has done and who are not outdone by him saving Waverly from drowning once. So we do have poisoning a whole town. We do have watching while one of his goons cuts off a woman's face with a razor blade. We do have kidnapping Willa, resulting into Wynonna shooting her own father and kidnapping Willa to keep her in a tree house for, I think, almost 10 years and coercing an underage girl into having the feeling she's in love with him. Huh? Remember that. He also made a guy put a power drill into his own head. So think again if you call for the redemption of Boba the Ray, because I clearly disagree with that notion at all. Other figure I want to talk about a bit more is Juan Carlo. I think we could have gotten more out of his whole character. Like, he was really interesting and mysterious, and I have the feeling not all questions about him are answered. So he clearly was the priest in the church in Purgatory. And he said he was cursed, like, to watch and never to interfere. Which is interesting because we never find out who actually cursed him. He just says he's cursed. It was not the demon Clutie who cursed Wynonna Earp, and Constance Clutie just put a spell on Doc Holliday, and Boba the Ray was a victim of the curse on Wynonna Earp. So where does the curse for Juan Carlo come from? Nobody knows. Would have been nice to know. Anyway, he dies anyway. Why does it matter anymore? Then I would say, okay, this whole thing of not interfering, right? He starts interfering at the end of season 1, and then in season 2 he brings back dolls to the homestead. What is that if not interfering? And I would say on a philosophical level, it is just like impossible to live without interfering. It's not a thing. It doesn't work. Like, every action he does comes with a reaction, right? It's basic physics. And especially since he lives in the same area where if things are happening he's supposed to not interfere with, it's basically impossible to not interfere. So the whole concept is a bit wacky. And the last thing, this episode, Dolls and Wynonna's relationship seems to rekindle somehow. I mean, Dolls tried to get away from his feelings for Wynonna, but it's clear that he's deeply in love with her. I mean, he almost dies due to the vapor of the widows, and he comes back because he thinks of Wynonna, and then he goes all dragony. So what if that's not love, what else is, basically? He also becomes very irrational in the way of like trying to bring back Wynonna from being kidnapped by Juan Carlo, and he just doesn't listen anymore. He's very aggressive and everything, and that's very different from the stone cold Dolls we've seen in season 1. He becomes very, very emotionally involved. And then another thing, maybe logic loophole, but okay, the church burns down, Wynonna is outside, she's not breathing, she's not having a pulse, and the only thing Dolls does is like half a mouth-to-mouth attempt and crying next to her. Like, he could have actually done proper CPR. He's a special agent, he's trained to do this, and the only thing he really does is sitting next to her and cry. Like, she's been without a pulse and breathing for 77 seconds, which is basically a guaranteed brain damage for the baby as far as I know. And he's not doing proper CPR, which could have like counted as her not being dead for 77 seconds. Even if you artificially stimulate the heart, it's still kind of beating. So we could have not have the whole thing. Also, the Wynonna being dead and coming back thing, clearly a huge Buffy shout out. But I think Buffy was like properly dead for quite some time. Not just shortly, which I think for me makes a big difference in the lore. I'm not a big fan of Wynonna's version of being dead. Oh, it's 77 seconds, of course, that there are 77 revenants, so this is kind of a mythological thing happening there. But also, for me, dead is dead. If she's just not breathing and has no heartbeat for 77 seconds, doesn't really mean she's dead. Like, but that might be my science brain. So I accept the fact that we say Wynonna has been dead for this amount of time. I really hope that all of the revenants came back, because if she has been dead, this is what happens if only Bobo comes back. I'm clearly gonna struggle with the law of the whole thing as it is, because the heir has been dead, all the revenants come back. That's the rule we've been taught, and please stick to it. If only Bobo comes back, well, please no. So that's it for today. This is probably gonna be 2 parts, to be fair. And maybe my impression of the overall story. Until now, this is my least favorite episode of the season, to be honest. Just because of the whole logic flaws that come up with it, and I'm a person who really likes it when a law in a series makes sense. Also, don't forget we're in the middle of season 2. To make like significant law mistakes in season 2 is just not good writing. And I personally can't really see through that and just judge on the like good character interactions and whatever. For me, that is really something I don't like. Also, I had the feeling that like the White Hot drama was a bit forced, and I hope it's gonna get better within the next episodes to learn a bit about who Waverly actually is, and what Bobo's gonna do. Please no redemption, it's Bobo the Ray. But anyway, so see you next week, and until then, have fun.